Hello, my name is Amal El-Mohtar. I write short fiction and poetry. I teach creative writing. I also write reviews for NPR, for the New York Times recently, very recently, and a few other places. So yeah, I love talking about fantasy, science fiction in lots of different contexts. So I mostly write short fiction and poetry in a sort of fantastical mode, in science fiction and fantasy, but usually sort of slipping in between those and avoiding hard genre categories where possible, but definitely in a fantastical mode of writing. This year in particular, one short story, Seasons of Glass and Iron, which is a kind of fairy tale mashup that appeared in an anthology called The Starlit Wood, New Fairy Tales. It won the Nebula Award, the Locus Award, and the Hugo Award. The Hugo Award in particular, the most recent one, is sort of like the Oscars as far as science fiction and fantasy is concerned. I teach a short fiction, specifically a fantasy short fiction writing course, and saying fantasy in this case, in my view, encompasses science fiction. So I'm very, very supportive of all kinds of fantastical writing being done in this course, whether it's horror or science fiction or fantasy. The idea is just kind of to explore all the possibilities of narrative. So what I start doing in the course is getting students to talk a bit and discuss what fantasy means to them, what sort of stuff they like to read and why, how those things differ from each other, and talk a bit about the rhetorics of fantasy, of what does it mean to write a story that is perceived as fantastical as opposed to not, and all the different nuances of the worlds in between. Then we move into a workshop portion, and at that point the students are producing short stories and reading and critiquing each other's work, and so kind of learning as much as they're learning to write and to push themselves in writing literature, they're also pushing themselves as critics and as readers of each other's work. And I always find that by the end of the course, their own writing has really benefited from the reading that they've done of other people's work. The course, as I have it, has a small sort of professionalization component at the end as well, so that I do want students to emerge from this knowing that there is a market for the kind of work that they are writing, and that there is the possibility of, selling their work, of placing their work in magazines, of having it read by this very hungry community of readers. There's also another thing that we do with the classes. I try to always have a working author come to talk to the students about some aspect of writing as a craft specifically. Just all of this stuff comes out of something that exists in the world but seems so magical. So why not play with that and see where it takes you?